Hey, hello again, and thank you for continuing to watch and learn from Everyday Economics. Now we're continuing with our principle number six. I have a special session on principle number six because it's about supply and we know it's the most understood and commonly shared principle in economics. Okay, so let me begin now. So what does supply and demand do into the economy? Okay. Now, let me go back a little bit, backtrack on incentives and prices and coordination now to talk about supply and demand. Okay. So price is basically the incentives for both buyers and sellers, right? It's in this incentive for the buyers if it's high. It's an incentive for the buyer if it's high. Disincentives as a seller. Okay, so higher prices will encourage buyers to purchase less, but it will encourage producers and sellers to supply more. So it means that two same uh, same thing, which is price, is affecting two users differently. One is to incentivize, the other is disincentivize, right? So if consumers want to buy more than sellers are willing to supply, the price will rise. Okay, that's this we are talking here of something natural. As I mentioned in the earlier video, uh, the some laws of economics are natural, right? So the higher prices will reduce the quantity purchased and increase the quantity supplied until the two are brought into balance. Uh, And what is happening there? Price becomes the incentive mechanism for both the buyers and the sellers. So that's why mahalaga po yung incentives talaga. Now, so prices bring the choices of buyers and sellers into balance. So this is called the market price. When people are agreeing to the price of the seller and the buyer is agreeing to the price of the seller, then there is a balance that is happening, and that is the equilibrium, as we will learn later. So let's talk first about the side of the seller. Okay, so the seller is affected by what is known as the law of demand. The law of demand says there's an inverse relationship or between price of a good or service and the quantity that are willing to purchase. So this is a law. Law in the context of natural law, meaning predictable. No? If prices goes up, less will be bought. If prices goes down, more will be bought. So yun lang ang ibig sabihin nun. And however, if there are substitute goods that perform similar function, uh, people move to other goods and services kung may substitute, right? Kaya may negative relationship. Otherwise, the relationship will not be affected because they will just buy it kung wala namang ibang option. For example, electricity, right? Of course, there are a substitute, but they're very expensive. Solar power, wind power, or your own generator will be very expensive. So what is happening there is the demand side is going to move only when there are substitutes that are similarly priced or affordable. So look at this picture of supply and demand, assuming of Suman. Okay, so the demand curve for Suman is illustrated here. No? The inverse relationship kaya pababa, right? So the law of demand says there will be an inverse relationship. So the demand curve isolates the impact of a change in price. So demand, law of demand only talks about the impact of price. Hindi yan pinag-usapan yung ibang mga nakaka-apekto pa sa product and na suman. No? May iba pa yun. No? So price lang ang pinag-uusapan natin. So, what if narinig naman natin term increase in demand? Increase in demand is no longer affecting exactly the law of demand, but there are other things that are moving. So from if it's law of demand only, it's only this original D1, prices are moving up and down lang here. But if there is an increase in demand, meaning the whole demand curve, no, lamong line shifted to the right, ano nangyari? Change in demand. Ano nangyari doon? Right? So may nangyayari because other factors other than price increase the price, the demand for suman. Now, for example, ito isa, ano na pinapakita natin dito, increase in the price of substitute, no? Nagmahal yung puto, yung pandesal, or the income of people increase, then they will purchase more suman or they will no longer buy puto or pandesal. So that is an increase in demand. So what will shift demand? What will move demand to the left or to the right? So ito yung mga yan. Una, income. So if income of people is increasing or decreasing, that will shift demand left and right, left when the income is less, right if income is more. Then change in the number of consumers. So very important. If there are more buyers, there are more potential buyers. So the Philippines, one of the youngest country in the world, has a lot of potential consumers. No? If you put income in them, then it will change demand significantly. Change in the price of a related good. So yun nga, yung substitute or complement. Right? So nakaka-apekto yun. Then changes in expectations, no? If you expect prices to go up next month or yung suma, halimbawa, ay tataas ang asukal. So tataas ang bigas. So it will affect the price of the selling of suman today. And then demographic changes, so if more people are getting older or younger, and then also changes in taste and consumer taste and preference. So for example, most people ngayon, ano bang gusto nila merienda? Will they take suman or will they take cakes or pastries? So changes in consumer taste and preference will shift the demand curve. Okay? And also, may tinatawag tayong normal good and inferior good. No? So if income of people increases, ang tinatawag, nagle-level up yung tao. Some things that they were buying when their income was not yet high, they will no longer buy. So before, you used to eat in a carinderia. When you had an increase in your income, you start to eat now in fast food. So carinderia is an inferior good now. Fast food is a normal good. You get the difference? Yun po yung nangyayari doon. People will no longer buy things that they no longer that they think are not equated to their income. No? May status change na sila. Importante. And then also understand the related goods. So it can be a substitute or a complement. Substitute, pag bumaba yung presyo ng isa, tapos mas maraming bibili ng product mo, substitute yun. No? Kung bumaba yung presyo ng product ng kalaban, nawala yung demand mo pumunta doon. Right? Also, price of one good increases the demand for another good. The two goods are called complements. Okay, so bumaba yung price ng donut, nag-increase yung demand for coffee, complement kasi sila. Right? So related yan. Now let's go to the supply side of the market. Supply side naman talks about the suppliers, their way of doing things. So paakyat naman yung kanila. As price increases, more will be supplied. So yun naman yung kabaliktaran. It's the reverse of the demand, of the law of demand. So the law of supply, again, this is a natural law. You can predict when prices are getting higher, producers are incentivized to produce more, right? So, but remember, there are resources that will require. No? So, pag-iisip muna, bago ako go into business, the producers have to pay their own resource price so that the resource owners, so they would know if it's useful to go into this business or not. Okay? So, kailangan ma-incentivize siya. Pag-isipan niya muna, baka naman better na wag na lang siyang mag-invest doon kung hindi magiging sustainable yung pag-increase ng price. Okay? So, we'll have to pay resource owners sufficient return before they will invest. Right? So, for example, right now in the pandemic, a lot of people are attracted to go online. But ang tanong doon uh, is it sufficient to attract me to put my resources there? Right? So, let's go to the law of supply. Again, gamitin ulit natin yung suman, no? Paakyat. If price only, yan ang relationship. If it's low, maraming gustong bumili pero konti ang isusupply. At pagka mas mataas, mas maraming gustong isupply. But there's also such a thing called the decrease in supply. Ano naman yung nangyayari? Nag-shift naman din yung supply. Kung yung demand nagsishift, yung supply din nag-shift. Okay, so what could shift the supply for suman? Okay, so input naman pinag-usapan natin, the cost of producing suman. So, example, tumaas yung tax or nagkaroon na tumaas nga yung price ng input, then there will be less suman produced. Okay, so change in resource prices, so the input prices, changes in technology. Okay, if somebody can produce suman, 100 suman in 1 minute, ikaw you're producing manually, so may iwan ka, right? Then the elements of nature. So right now we are affected by the pandemic. There is lockdown. There are lockdowns. There are people limitations of movement. So the supply curve will shift definitely, and then also regulations. Okay? So, pareho lang siya ng law of demand, law of supply, pareho rin. No? Yung shift is not about prices but other factors. What would move demand is other factors. What would change quantity demanded is price, or quantity supplied is price. So we're now into a condition called the equilibrium, no? So ano ba yung nangyari? If naging equal na yung supply and demand, ito nakita natin, nag-meet yun. So 8 at 8 pesos, they were willing to supply equal, no? 30 yung mabebenta. Okay, kumita ba si producer? Definitely, hindi naman siya magbebenta kung hindi siya kita dyan. Right? So if the price goes down, the income of the producers will go down, but at the same time, more sales. So kailangan malaman natin, okay ba yung less sales o more sales? Dito natin, right? So we are in equilibrium is where prices, where the suppliers and the demanders meet. Okay, basically. Now the question is, what determines if a good will be produced? Okay, so kailangan malaman natin. Marami tayong nakikita. There are so many things that we want to produce in the economy today. For example, right now in this COVID crisis, there is a big determination to produce a vaccine. Okay, so but if other than that, what are the other things that you want to be produced? Value to, no? We're talking about value. Firms will search for the opportunity to produce goods for sales. Revenue exceeds their cost. Kailangan kumita. So firms will continue to produce a good or service only if consumers are willing to pay a price greater than or equal to per unit cost. So kailangan maisip nila, ano ba yung bibilhin ng tao? How much are they willing to pay? How much they're valuing? Right? So it depends on the producer's opportunity cost. Yung nagpo-produce. What is the opportunity cost of producer? If I have 1 million pesos today, if I keep it in the bank, will it make me more money? But if I invest it into a business, will it make me more money? So that's the opportunity cost of your money. Think of that. And if there is somebody there who has a bright idea, puts it into good use, gets funded, then it will be produced. And the thing is, a good will be produced if it's of value to buyers and profit to producer. Yun po ang bottom line. So I hope you learned this short sharing about supply and demand. Continue to read through the ebooks that I have supplied and watch some of the videos so you learn what we are talking about here. So thank you very much. And there is a series of YouTube videos if you want to watch them also that can help you. Thank you very much and God bless.